Welcome to this week's video. I'm Vanessa from Life Mentoring. This week I'd like to introduce the topic of your preconceived ideas and your beliefs. Some of these we know really well and some are subconscious. So what is a belief? So this is really, it's thoughts. You've got a thought or set of thoughts about maybe a fact or an event or an opinion. And what you've done is you've rerun these thoughts over and over, and then they become a habit. And that habit then becomes so fixed and so ingrained that it's a belief. So the question is this okay? What's wrong with this? So obviously we need some beliefs. We need these. They're actually set up to make our life easy and to protect us. So they're good. But what happens is we get to a point in life and we might find that we're not happy with something. And that's the point at which we need to find out what's behind it. And is there a belief that's causing this? Because what happens is beliefs are set up most of them many years ago, in the first 6 to 7 years of your life. So when you're young, your brain waves are in a different state. You're in theta waves, which is where you're in a download stage. So imagine that your brain is like a really amazing computer. When you're young, you are just taking in all this information. And then what you need to do is you need to make sense of it. So you create a meaning. So every time something happens, you create a meaning. Sometimes you're actually offered that by your family or those close to you. And if you're not, you'll make it up yourself. And then what you'll do is you'll carry on with that and you'll actually affirm it. You know, when other things happen, some things you might think, oh, that doesn't quite fit with what I thought. So you might ignore it because you can be a little bit biased about this. But you keep reinforcing it. And then you get to a point in your life and you think, well, something's not working for me. And you get actually quite stuck and you want to move on, but you're not sure why this isn't happening. You actually, if you stop and think about it, you will know if you can work it out, but you have to now address it consciously because a lot of this has gone on subconsciously. And it's all for our good. We are protecting ourselves and we are making sense of things to make life easy. So what we need to do is when we're not happy with something that's happening, so we're having something like an event or a behavior that we're not happy with. So that's the results of this belief. And that's when we need to address it. So all the ones that are still working for us, that's great. But some of them, although they worked for us back then, don't actually work for us anymore now. And so if you're sitting here today wondering why the same thing keeps happening to you, those are the ones you want to address. Those are the ones you want to think, right, what's going on here? What's behind it? I'll take a really obvious one. We have a discussion group, and this came up in the discussion group where we were talking about beliefs and why they might be set up. And so your basic ones can actually come all the way back to it's just there to protect you. So if you feel like, oh gosh, I might make a mistake. Okay, what's behind that? Why is that such a problem? Well, because people might judge you. And then if people judge you, what's going to happen? They might not like you. And then what's going to happen? Well, you might be cast out of the tribe, out of the pack, out of the community. And why is that an issue? The issue is we need to survive. Basic instinct is to survive. And if you are cast out, not liked, and discarded, you probably won't survive. We didn't survive on our own. Animals are still pack animals, and we need to belong. So it all comes down to that survival. But today that's not so relevant. It's not like that. And also you might have overgeneralized it just because you got one thing wrong. But you've got that emotion attached to it and that instinct of survival. So you think, oh, I can't get anything wrong. Okay, so that's an example of what can go wrong and the thoughts that are behind it and the process that's led to it. And as I've mentioned, there's quite often emotions attached to it. Like if you've had a really, like a traumatic or big event in your life, you had to come up with some meaning to make sense of it. But you did have a lot of emotion at the time, so that emotion is attached to it. So every time you have the trigger and it happens again, you've got that emotion attached to it. Okay, so what do we do now? We have a behavior, we have some results of something going on in our life, and we're really not too happy with it, and we want to change it. So first thing, you create the awareness. Yeah, I'm not happy with that. And then you think, right, so I need to find the belief behind it. So then you start to look at why that's happening. What was set up to protect you? Now, there's a couple of routes you can go with this. You will find people who do, say, hypnosis, meditation, EDMR. They will take you all the way back to when the event originally happened to find out what started it. And then they'll bring you back to the current day and move you forward from there. Or I'm a life mentor, a life coach, and my view is that you start from here today, because we're all about moving forward. So you started today, you said, yes, I've got a problem and I want to move forward with it. I don't need to know why that was set up. I want to look at what's going on for you today. What are the beliefs? What are the thoughts? And what are the emotions attached to it? And then we can move forward. All right. So firstly, you find out what your beliefs are. So you look at the results and you say, right, this isn't working for me. What's behind this? What is the belief that I've set up? And once you've done that, you need to decide that you actually want to make the change. And change is hard. We don't really like change, and it requires a bit of effort. But if you've decided you want to do the change, that's the second step. And what do you want to change it to? You can't just delete it. You need to rewrite the program and you need to put something in its place. So we looked at the results. We didn't like the results. We want to change the results. To change the results, we need to change the thoughts and the behaviors and the emotions. So what result would you now like? And then you can look at what thoughts or thought process would uphold that result to create your new belief. So this is all your prep work. What's the belief that we want to delete, and what do we want to put in its place? And what would we need to think in order to have that result and that belief? Once you've got all of that set up and you challenge your original belief, you find out really if that's true, or was it based on something that's no longer needed, required, valid, or true. One thing I will say about truth is when we set up our beliefs, we believe it to be true. It's true for us at the time. So when you start to change it, you will have a little bit of a struggle in your head because you thought that was the truth. And it was, but it was your truth. And you're now going to change it to a new truth. So once you've accepted that and you have decided what you're going to change it to, then you start to change it. When your beliefs are originally set up, which was many years ago, and you have reaffirmed them for a long time. So this isn't going to feel comfortable and it's not going to happen overnight. I think it's to create a new habit takes 68 days. So you need to commit to doing this consciously. So that's the next step. Once you've set up your new belief and you've challenged the old belief and you're all set to go, you need to decide that you're committed to it. And you're going to practice this. And it's not going to feel comfortable to start with, but you will practice it again and again and again. And at first it will feel conscious and uncomfortable. But if you keep going and you just repeat it again and again, eventually it will become your new habit. And that's how you rewrite the program that was set up many years ago. Just to mention, if there's emotions attached to it, that does make it harder. And again, you need to consciously decide what the new emotion is going to be. Say you're afraid of public speaking and your current emotion with that is fear. You're going to change that emotion. Fear actually and anxiety is actually very similar to excitement. So you can say, I'm going to change that one to excitement and feel excitement. So the attached emotions make it harder. Having said that, when you create your new belief with an emotion, that actually helps your new belief to become more set, because again, you've got the emotion attached to it. So stick with it. You can read all of this on my blog if you want to see it all written down step by step. 5 steps. Okay, what's your belief? Decide that you want to change it. Decide what you want to change it to. Challenge the old belief, and then practice the new belief. If you want any more help, feel free to contact us. You may need a coach or someone to help you with this, but make your decision, stick with it, and create your new habit. Out with the old and in with the new. Have a good week.